All right. Well, what we're looking at here is the current condition of the 1971 Dodge D300 Thomas Mighty Mite school bus. This is how it is on July 3rd, 2020. You can see right here, Thomas built. Yes. Maybe it'll focus for me. There we go. It's got its own information on there. Yeah, you can see the mileage that it's showing. It's got all these controls and this big heater thing. There's a CB, like you saw before, some speakers. Now this one's interesting. I don't know if this one was ever a school bus because it doesn't have the warning lights up front. You'll see when we get on the outside. Obviously the windshields have been destroyed with BB guns. Good thing that's flat glass, easy to replace. Glass in the doors, the sliding side window, and the back glass is all there. Side is wide open. Somebody cut out the frames too. Yeah. You can see this was originally what they would call a 3-window because it does have 1, 2, 3, and then this little short back window here. So, but yeah, that one's missing, and that one's missing, but these back ones are there. You can see right there, Thomas. And someone had converted this into a camper at one point. You can kind of see where they had put some shelves. And they had a sink and stuff in here, but it was very amateur work. I just tore it all out. And I'm pretty sure they painted, like that's probably the original paint right there, this like light greenish thing. And then they painted that pink and the blue and this stuff right here. All right. This still works. And we'll go look around on the outside. The steps are good and solid. I'll show you that real quick. No rust or rot there. And in fact, there was no rotten spots at all on the floor. And I'm a big guy. I've walked all over this floor and nothing feels soft. I mean, yeah, there's surface rust. Yeah, there's some rust that was under the rubber that got a little bit scaly. But once that rubber's peeled off and, you know, the rust is stabilized, it's nice and solid. And I was just going to put a hardwood floor on top of it after sealing it up. You can do whatever you want. I have so many projects. I need to whittle them down. That's the only reason I'm selling. I mean, I'm literally never going to find another one of these. So a little trick here. Oh, first of all, there's the glove box. And that still shuts, kind of. In order to shut the door, you got to kind of... Sorry, you didn't see that. In order to shut the door, you got to kind of start it, back out. You know, it's got to be past the midpoint, and then there you go. Someone had set a lock here previously. And you can see right here, Dodge 300. So this is not on a super heavy duty chassis. This is just a regular 1-ton chassis. And I measured the wheelbase. I think it was, excuse me, hello coof coof. It's a 133-inch wheelbase, which is really close to the wheelbase of a 90s extended cab 1-ton. My ultimate dream was to put this body on like a early 90s diesel 4x4 extended cab. I've had my eyes open looking for one since I got this, but I haven't come across one. So it does have these warning lights on the back, but it doesn't have them on the front, which is interesting. Somebody's put this box on the back here. I've got this piece of wood. So you can see they extended this bar, and it does have a place to put a tow hitch. And in this box, I mean, you can put whatever you want in here. Right now, there's this drive shaft. Now, this drive shaft was sitting next to this thing when I bought it. The guy told me it was towed in, like flat towed, which means where they were rolling it. At least they were rolling the back wheels. So that's why the drive shaft wasn't in there. It had to be pulled out. Like a lot of RVs do that. He told me this was the right drive shaft. And I think it is because, I mean, I haven't actually ever stuck it down there and measured. I probably should, but anyway. So I leave this here. And It's okay for my fat ass to stand on. All right, I'm going to do a little walk around here. First of all, I'll show you. The dark orange here is the original paint. At some point, someone painted over it with school bus yellow, and then someone else painted over it with the white. And I think there's actually 2 coats of white. Two different times it was painted white, I think. But if it were me, I'd go back to that original orange. Which I think it either meant like, it was some kind of government thing. But it either meant prisons or work detail or, it might have been community service. I don't know. But I don't think it was any kind of school initially. Again, it may have been adapted later. So, when I did power wash half this thing, this half, because at the time the hose didn't reach any further and I was going to move it. I just never got around to it. So this whole side of the thing has been power washed. And you can kind of see right here how where the line is. The left is where it was when I got it, and the right is after I washed it. You can even see that on that bumper there. It's a big difference. So let me open the hood. Well, I'll finish going around first. So yeah, look at the top there. See where they painted on where lights might have been? But there's never been any lights on this thing. There's no wiring for them. It's got like these really cool, like California style mirrors. They definitely don't look very safe for a school bus. Like, as far as like, kids crossing the road and shit. That's why I'm saying, and this thing has never had one of those like bars that sticks out or the little stop sign. It's never had that stuff installed on here. So I don't think it was any kind of school bus. Of course, it does have this numbering on here, which says it was some kind of government something. I don't know. I think that's where the battery box, or something. I'm not sure. And yeah, you can kind of see the whole thing then, all the way around. This side's cleaned off a lot more than the other one. The tires hold air. I can top them off with a little bit of compressed air. They will slowly leak down. But, the air I've had in here right now, I've had in there for over a year. So it's not like they're going to blow out on you or anything. At least for rolling it and moving it, it should be fine. And you can see how short this wheelbase is. Let me step back a little bit so you can see the whole thing. See what I'm talking about. This is a very, very short bus. About the shortest you could get. From what I was told, they stopped making these after 72 or after 71 because when they switched to the 72 models, I guess the feds changed their rules and the buses had to be of the heavier duty chassis, like the 1.5 ton or better. And most of the ones I've seen, even ones that are this short, and they even made one that was a little shorter, that was straight 3 windows, not 3.5-ish or 3.25. Those from the later 60s, those were on a 2-ton chassis, like a D500, not even a 400. But I have seen 400s that were longer. I think they had so many different kinds. What's important is this is a D300 1-ton chassis, which means 1-ton brakes, 1-ton steering parts, 1-ton wheels. Oh, and these wheels are not half sizes. These are regular 16s. So I think, I have to double check, but I think it's 215, 85, 16s that are on there right now, which are easy to get. Compare that to trying to find like 16.5s or 17.5s on weird split rims and shit. You don't want to do that. It is drums all the way around. I like drums. I don't know. If you know how to drive them, they're fine. So there is a bit of rust on the underside of the hood here. And when I lift it up, you'll see it's really bad over here. I think a lot of this is from stuff getting behind there. These hoods were kind of notorious for that. Obviously, somebody smashed the headlights, probably the same time that somebody fucked up the windshield. This thing was in storage for years. And then they stopped paying storage fees, and I bought it from the storage lot. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to set you down. I only have 2 hands. And getting this hood open, it sticks a little bit. See, of course, right now, because there we go. And then There we go. All right. So, I know. It looks like a 360 carb. And usually this carb did come on 360s. It's some kind of Holly. But this is a 318. You can tell by the front counterweight. Oh, you can get a good look at that. Just a regular old 318. 318, it's got a 727 transmission, which is not original. Excuse me. It was originally one of those heavy-duty 4-speeds. Somebody switched it to an automatic. Even though it's drums, it is power drums, which are fantastic. Will probably throw you through the windshield if you stomp on them too hard. Like, very strong. You know, drums don't really need power, but when you add power to drums, they're powerful. The battery tray here is actually in pretty good shape. The front here is in good shape. The only rot on these fenders is where it probably collected mud. And now you can see in the back on the floor. Can you see that? I actually have a fender, a front driver's side fender. Yeah, see that? That will go right here. You can use that metal to patch that up. Now, that fender had been in a wreck, and the front of it's crumpled, so you'd have to, you know, patch the two together. The hinges are good. Those are hard to find sometimes. The hood is fairly good. I mean, if you could, like I said, it's just the edge here that's bad. If you could fix this front edge, the rest of the hood's solid. This era hoods definitely need some kind of bracing. I'm going to guess it got dented when somebody probably tried to stand up on top of it or something. It's got this weird heating system for the inside. I would get rid of that, personally. You don't have to. It's got the transistor voltage regulator, which acted as a governor. Even though, I swear, I think this thing is still all points. I don't know how that thing works. I got when I first bought it, I put a wrench on it, and I was able to turn the motor over by hand. And when I put a little bit of gas in the carb, I was able to get it to pop a little bit. But I also went back and looked at the distributor, which is a pain to get to. Like, honestly, I would rather put a big block in here just because you can actually get to the distributor. Like, in this monstrosity, getting back in there to the distributor is such a pain. I'm a big guy, and I have a hard time doing that. I mean, even being able to sit on that like a bench, it's just a pain to get back in there. But so I never really messed with that too hard, other than to see that the points looked corroded, and the cap, the underside of the cap, where the little contacts, those look pretty corroded. Usually if that's corroded and the button's corroded, then the points are corroded too. Like I said, this thing sat for 10 years. And I have not had an air filter for it. It has just been sitting like that. I had a rag in there for a while. It's not had a rag just for a few months here. But I haven't had the hood open or anything. Anyway, I did pour a bunch of Marvel Mystery Oil down in the cylinders when I first got it. Just to kind of like, you know, make sure everything was nice and lubricated, that it wasn't going to like do any damage turning it over. Anyway, so I did get the engine to actually turn over with the starter motor. I don't have a key, but I was able to, where is that thing? Is it over here? Yeah. I was able to put a screwdriver across the contacts on the relay and get it to turn. So somebody added a electric fuel pump to this thing. This is a telltale sign. My guess is the mechanical fuel pump either failed completely or started to fail, and somebody installed this to kind of like shove more fuel in there. That's a temporary fix. It never stays. So yeah, you can see under the hood, this side's pretty good. The back is pretty good. This side's got a little bit of rot right there, and you know, on the edge. But this could all be fixed. You know, a little bit right there. And then the bottom right here, this whole thing right here is cheesed. Again, I think this is from mud getting slung up and staying under there and actually coming from the outside in. Maybe. It could be from water collecting and sitting in here. You know, they learned a lot from this generation of trucks with the next ones. Except for the bird bath hood. Okay, so that's under the hood. So the motor turns over. I've not had it actually running and moving this thing, mostly because it needs at least a set of points, if not a points cap button. All right. And even in its rusty state, the hood still shuts nice and solid. I mean, come on. Well, that's about it. That's a 1971 Dodge D300 Thomas Mighty Mite short school bus. I am selling it, or I'm willing to trade for another Mopar. It's got to be a runner. I like anything from 60 to 80. Right now, I'd love to get a big C-body or a 4x4 truck. My two-wheel drive truck is a good work truck, but I'd love to get a 4x4. I wouldn't mind getting a 1-ton in this from the the tin grill era, the 72 to 80, or even an 80s model up to the early 90s, or a swept line. I'm not particular. I mean, if you got a cool Mopar, just shoot me an offer. Worst I can say is no. And obviously, I'll take cash as well. It's stored right now at my shop in Forest City, North Carolina, and you should come by and check it out if you like it. I don't have the room for it, and I don't have the time for a project right now. I'd rather have the cash or something else I can go ahead and drive. All right, y'all. Hit me up with your questions. Thanks.